I told my friend that I'm emotionally hitting a wall, and she said, sometimes walls are there so we can lean on them and rest. I can't even begin to express how much I really needed to hear that. Tweeted by Brandon K. Good. Hello and welcome. It's a brand new episode, and it is me, your one and only. Oh, yay. Toya, where's the water? Hello, it's Toya Washington here, the host of the Toya Talks podcast. Brand new episode each and every Tuesday. And you see this episode, loading. Hey, we are packed. So what I'm going to say to you all is, well, the normal episodes are usually about an hour and a half. But the way I've packaged this thing, it's as if you should pause me and go and get hot drink, cold drink, toast, apple, chocolates, ice cream, whatever it is that you're eating. Sit comfortably as God uses me as a vessel of example, a vessel of testimony, because I'm going to take y'all to work and I'm going to take y'all straight to church. Can I get an amen? Woo! Yeah, we're going to church. Can you not hear the music I'm even playing for you people? Yes, darling. Because a lot has been happening. Where do we start? Do we start with Gary? Do we start with Cindy? Do we start with Charlotte? What are we all doing? What's happening? Listen, when I did last week's episode of Toya Talks podcast, obviously it was a dilemma episode. And off the back of that, I've received so many dilemmas. So what I am going to say is I'm going to leave the dilemmas to later on in the podcast episode. There is one dilemma that I am going to talk about. And it is about the lady who was the focal point of last week's dilemma episode, where she'd been working for an organisation. And basically she had her performance review. And as soon as she's basically had that a few hours later, they published her job. Now, you guys will recall in the last episode where I gave her some advice and I was pretty hard on her, and I was very honest about why I was hard on her. And for me, it was about breaking down this fear that she had, okay? Because it was very obvious to me that she wanted me to show up and fight for her. But you can't want more for people than they want for themselves. And I had to take her to task a little bit, because I knew that if she really wanted this job, because when I asked her, what do you want out of this? She wants to retain her job. And one thing about me is, irrespective of what my thoughts are, if I ask you what you want, and you tell me what you want, it's not my job to tell you what you want. Do you know what I mean? Unless you say, Toya, what's your view? What do you think I should want out of this? Now, that's a very different question. But I will always tell you that if you wear the shoe, then you know where it hurts, right? So I want to talk about an email that a DM message that she sent to me off the back of last week's episode. And I think it's really pertinent and important to discuss what she wrote in response to the dilemma episode, in response to the advice that I gave her. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on at work, because very conscious I haven't really spoken about it, just because I've just kind of been waiting for things to play out, to be honest. And you know what they say? A pie is worth eating when it's fresh out of the oven. And my gist and my tea is freshly brewed. And I am delivering it in a cup worthy of queens. Worthy of queens. Can the queens please stand up and just shine your crown? You guys are going to laugh tire today. You're going to laugh tire because you know something? We are at a point in our careers, in our life, whereby if you don't start fighting for yourself and fighting through the fears and fighting through the stereotypical projection that TV and the media have of us black women, unless we're going to fight through, these people are going to really try and take us for a heed. I genuinely think that organizations rely on our ignorance. They rely on the fear that they have imparted on our parents and our parents have passed on to us. They rely on oppressive constructs to continue to protect racism, so that they can continue to oppress us, so they continue to instill fear in us, so that we don't actually stand up to them. But why I created Toya Talks, why Toya Talks exists, is because I have seen Pepper in this life. I've suffered in this life, and this podcast is only 1/3 of what I've been through. I have been through so much. And honestly, if I didn't come here and share with you, if I didn't come here and teach, and if I did not come here and be open in my understanding of the lessons that I have been taught across my entire career, now when I was in my 20s and all that in between, I really feel like I won't be walking and working in my purpose. I believe that I have suffered in this life because God knew that he was preparing me for this. He was preparing a platform fit for queens, so that we can all congregate and sit here and are honest in our experiences, but more importantly, so that I can teach you how to be successful in white spaces. Because whether we want to accept it or not, what dominates the spaces of where we are mainly are white people, because we work. Some of us work 9 to 5s. Not everybody, but equally, not everybody can be a musician or a content creator. And it is not a bad word. It's not a bad thing to work in a 9 to 5. And often it is white spaces because white people are the majority at the end of the day. Now, that could be argued as well, because I definitely think that actually white spaces, they are a majority in the senior influential positions. And that's where some of us are trying to get to. Some of us are just trying to navigate in peace to still be successful too. But equally, I understand that a lot of us go into work and we seek peace, but Oyibo people are constantly on crud all the time. And it is the microaggressions. It is everything that is so wrong with these spaces that are created to benefit white people. And as soon as we attempt to stand up for ourselves, speak up for ourselves, we are categorized as aggressive. We are categorized as difficult. We are categorized as not being a fit. And all these words are loaded in racism, because if we are to understand racism in its entirety, it is sewn into the fabric of society. Are we talking about the colonial structures that are still reigning supreme now, but called something different? Are we talking about managers and businesses and human resources and shareholders who continue to push the racist narrative to their benefit? And the people that pay the price is us. We pay the price if we're not willing to understand how to navigate white spaces, stand up for ourselves and fight through fear. The lady in last week's episode, Toya Talks I Need Your Help, after my probation period, my role was advertised. That young lady needed me to be hard on her. And I need to, now that I have also read her response to me, I need to give you context of something. It was very apparent to me that one of the reasons why she left it so long to contact me is, number one, I think there was a bit of burying your head in the sand, hoping it will get better. I think also it spiraled so out of control so quickly that because she hadn't been following the Toya Talks podcast, she hadn't instilled in her, or she hadn't learnt the skills that she would need to kind of deal with these people, deal with the racism. It starts with the due diligence and it starts with the burn folder. And if you fail to have any one of those things, I promise you, your tenure in your workplaces will not last long. To that end, let me read you her response. Hi Toya, I hope you're well and hope you're enjoying your week so far. Just to let you know, I've sent the grievance. The company is scrambling. They are shaking. Suddenly, they're sourcing legal advice and sourcing an external human resources representative as the useless virtual HR assistant can't be used. Funny enough, this HR assistant sent an email saying performance review has been put on hold as she has been made aware of my grievance. She also copied in my line manager. The person the grievance is against. Shake my head. How unprofessional. I sent the grievance to the CEO, and that was my way of knowing it's been acknowledged. He also sent a follow-up email that evening. Anyway, the hearing is next week. So what she means by hearing is the internal hearing. I don't know why she's calling it a hearing, because it sounds more daunting than what it is, but it's basically the internal meeting subject to an investigation. The CEO has changed his story several times. The letter stated he will be doing the hearing, accompanied by an external rep. He called me into the meeting room today trying to fish for additional information, saying that with what I've stated so far, it's not enough evidence to suspend or deploy my line manager. He also said he doesn't believe anyone in his company is of my claims. Then the shocker of it all, this guy as a chairman, CEO and board member, if my claims of acts of constructive dismissal, harassment, victimization, bullying and racial discrimination is true, I should report it to the police. Sis, at this point, I couldn't help but take this guy for a joke. Anyway, I've sourced myself a union trade rep from a reputable brand. They will represent me on the day. When I confirmed I'll be attending the hearing on the date with my rep from the trade union, the guy suddenly started to change his story, saying please and thank you in his emails. Now he knows I have a reputable rep with me. He now said he cannot conduct the meeting as he will be unable to do the appeal. This is the same guy that said, I don't have a case. If I don't have a case, why is he thinking of appeal? Anyway, he tried to have an off-the-record chat with me and asked me, what do I want from this? My union rep told me to respond with no comment. And what I want is to be heard by my hearing date. Simple. Nothing more, nothing less. Before leaving the office today, he ran, so she's talking about the CEO here. The CEO ran to me asking if we can change the meeting to Zoom, as the people he wanted to use have pulled out and he's had to find someone else, blah, blah, blah. I told him I'll confirm. My union is a paid service and they will not put me out of pocket because of their problems. Oh, he's also changed the days I will be in the office to different days to my line manager. This is the CEO. He's also made the direct person who reports into me will now be reporting into my line manager. Even better, further explains my claims for harassment and victimization. No worries at all. My rep is also a man of colour with 10 years experience and great reviews. Sorry, I know this message is long, but the madness is shocking. Let's hope I win the case. I'll keep you updated. Again, thank you so much. You gave me hope and belief that I can do this. You gave me a leg to stand on and you have put us black women on. I haven't stopped listening to your podcast. We need to get your podcast viral. Every person of colour needs to hear it. We do not protect ourselves enough as black people. Sis, I believe in myself and I'm ready to make a change. This shall not carry on. I will update you next week. Also, lastly, my union rep applauded your tips and will be listening to your podcast. Oh, do you know what? As I've read this, I'm feeling a bit emotional. Let me tell you something. I knew that if she could fight through the fear, I knew she could handle this. It had gone past the stage of reporting this to HR because she'd already done so and they ignored her. This needs to go to the CEO. What I respect about this young lady is that she knew that she couldn't represent herself. She knew that she needed support and she went and sourced a union rep, an independent union rep to represent her. She's made clear what her claims are in accordance to to the markup I did of her grievance complaint, where I made it clear within the first 3 lines the basis of her grievance complaint. If you want to hear it, listen to the episode before this where I go through it in high level detail. It was a couple of things that I pulled out of what she said to me, and I responded back to her and I said, listen, the fact that he said that he has to step down as the chairman of the hearing because he can't hear the appeal, you need to, I hope that you've written this down as part of your burn folder, because that basically infers that he's already concluded that you're going to lose and therefore you will appeal, because appeals are for people who lose. And then you have the option to appeal. So that means he's already made his decision. So my question is about impartiality and influence. I said, you need to write these things down. I said, secondly, he said to you that if there is racism, discrimination, victimization and harassment, then you should report it to the police. I would put it to you that he's not taking this seriously, because it's not a criminal offence to do that. Actually, it isn't, well, not in the terms in which, you know, she has shared it with me. It's not a criminal offence, it's a civil offence, isn't it? I think what is criminal is, to an extent, racial harassment if it happened outside of the world of work. But again, the nuances that are involved in that. But it also shows that he's incompetent. I knew that this grievance letter would set the cats amongst the pigeons. Listen, sometimes you just have to use a rocket. You gotta launch the rocket. Kapoo! You gotta do it. Because as it stands at the moment, I didn't think that when she wrote to me initially, she realised that she was fighting for a job. And at the point in which you know you're fighting for your job, they've already advertised. So you've had your performance review. After them systematically bullying and harassing you for weeks, they ignore your complaint, your initial complaint. They pull you in for a performance review. Yeah? And then they advertise your job. Now they're putting the performance review on hold. They've got to put it on hold because they knew they were going to sack her as a result of that performance, the second follow-up performance review. So they had to put it on hold, because had they gone ahead with it and they sacked her, that is constructive dismissal. And we already have a claim in the grievance complaint of acts of constructive dismissal. Acts of. We didn't say you have now done the constructive dismissal. That would have followed as a result of them actually sacking her or forcing her to resign because of the performance review process. The fact that she knew that she needed someone to represent her, honestly, I have so much respect for her, because I recognize that not everybody can do it for them, like represent themselves in that way, in a clear and concise way. And sometimes you have to be able to say, do you know what? In investing in my career, I'm going to invest in an external rep to do this for me. There is a lot that could be said about this platform that I've created. And one thing that you will all agree is that I believe that you have to be in the forefront of your career. I can't be sitting beside you. There's a lot of people to sit beside because I know how many people access the platform. I will give you the tools. You have to decide how you want to use them. I give you every single tool to use to represent yourself. And sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, I can't represent myself here. I need a subject matter expert, and I'm going to go to an external trade union rep to do it for me. And it's amazing that rep can see the value in the platform. Because, listen, when it comes to studying white people and how they deal with us, I've spent years. White people don't want to be called racist, but they'll be racist. What else are you going to call it, bruv? Sis. What else are we going to call it? It's racism. If you don't want to be accused of being a racist, stop being racist. It's like white people see racism as a dirty word. But if it's so much of a dirty word, stop doing those acts. Because we are going to call it out. We're going to call it out for what it is. And white fragility does not exist here. White fragility doesn't exist here. And I think that we as black people and we as black women need to be comfortable with using these words, white fragility. Because I'm telling you, her line manager will start crying. Come and bet me money. She'll now say her husband left her and she's been dumped with her 2 kids and she's stressed. This is the reason why she's been acting out at work. And they get a pass for being bullies. They get a pass for being racist. They get a pass for all of this shit. And I'm not having it anymore. So my annoyance with this black queen was that I created this whole platform. You know who I am. Yeah, you've been following me for a while. You told me that. but you didn't access the platform until you were on your knees. And I can't have that. I want to get the platform out, so much so that you don't actually have to be on your knees to understand it. You have to tap into the platform. Sometimes you start seeing the beginning of Oyibo madness. Then you know that you have to start activating that your burn folder. Start activating things and start doing what needs to be done to safeguard your job. Now, for me personally, when the young lady told me what she wants out of this, I kind of felt like her focus was the mortgage. And I get it. It's not like I don't understand it. I get it. But I do think that when you are taking on an organization, you're taking on the CEO, it's a small business. So it's not like, you know, there's like 2,000 people. It's a small business, right? And it's a finance company, but it's owned by husband and wife. I think that when you kind of go down this route, it's very difficult to do business as usual, especially when you win. It's difficult. So I think the only thing I will say to this Black Queen is all the things that she listed that she wants out of this, by the grace of God, she will get, insofar as she patterns up her burn folder, insofar as her external union rep represents her properly. I mean beyond reasonable doubt. I mean evidentially. I mean, is that a word? I mean everything. Then when she gets what she wants and she gets her mortgage in principle and then she does her full mortgage application and gets the mortgage, I think that then she needs to start planning her exit strategy, because it's going to be very uncomfortable even when she comes back. I think that the microscope will be on her, and I think that one needs to be very mindful when you're working for these husband and wife businesses, because at the end of the day, you fall out with the husband, you fall out with the wife, vice versa. And it's very incestuous, you know, to be working in organizations like that, because it's so small, people talk. And I definitely think that the money that she's invested in defending herself will be worthwhile, but I do worry about the day to day, because at the end of the day, they are so protective of the line manager. I don't think the line manager is going anywhere. So I think that as far as she's concerned, she has to be comfortable with being uncomfortable for the purposes of her mortgage when she wins this. And I will be keeping you guys updated of what happens at the hearing insofar as she keeps me updated. And hopefully that we can all take something from her experience and we can learn from this. What I want to say to all of you, and I think is really important, is that, you know, no two situations are the same. However, there is lessons to be learned, and there's things that are fundamental, like your burn folder, like your feedback folder. Don't wait until a situation is catastrophically out of control to start building your burn folder. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because if you wait until things are catastrophic and start building your burn folder won't be effective, because you'll be building it from a position of emotion. And I think when things happen in isolation, you're not as emotive. You're a bit more logical and practical about the reasons why you're creating that burn folder. But in the throes and the thrusts of emotion, sometimes you lose out on key things that need to go in the burn folder. Your feedback folder is so important. And your feedback folder is a testimonial. It's a testimonial about how good you are at your job. And it's not the ones that you procure from people or you solicit from people. It's the type of emails that come through unrequested. You've done so well. Thank you so much for all your help in this project. That goes in the feedback folder. Oh, we couldn't have done it without you. Feedback folder. You've saved the day again. Feedback folder. Employee of the week. Feedback folder. They may seem really small in isolation, but together, it tells a story about how you are as an employee or as a consultant or as whatever. It's the unarguable fact that you are amazing at your job. So when you are coming to defend yourself, maybe you're having a performance review or you've been pulled up on something. Hang on, you're telling me I'm crap at my job, a job that I've been doing for X amount of time. Hello, look at the feedback. That feedback is your insurance policy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because sometimes you don't always have to use the burn folder. Sometimes you can use the feedback folder to defend yourself. It's about knowing which folder to use, how to use it. And we spoke about Dominic Cummings, and I spoke about how he used his burn folder. And he's used it in a way that some may say quite vengeful. But I definitely know that he has a feedback folder. He must do some type of feedback folder. When I spoke about Dominic Cummings, it was on the episode called Whistleblower Part 1. And he's using it to kind of get his own back on the current government. Boris Johnson, is it Nick Hancock? Or is it Matt Hancock? I can't remember. Nick, I think his name's Nick. He looks like a Nick. Do you understand? And I feel like until you get to a place where you really understand that every day we go to work, we are fighting for our jobs, it's about degree. Unless you accept that, you're going to find yourself moving from one job to another. You're going to find yourself in a problem all the time, and you're going to find yourself on the receiving end of the toxic nature of white constructs, because they bank on your ignorance. They do. They never ever would have imagined that there'd be a platform called Toya Talks that will teach you, that will educate you, advise you how to navigate their protected spaces. But we're here. There are people that you work with, there are people that you know that could benefit from the platform. Give them the link. Send them the link to the Toya Talks podcast. Send them an episode. Send them something. Because unless we're willing to use ourselves to spread the word, our fellow queens will not know this exists, and they will be suffering in silence. And it burns me to think that there is a black queen sitting there somewhere struggling with work and not knowing that this platform exists, that she can access, benefit, and educate herself how to better navigate the spaces that she has to turn up in every single day. So this black queen not only showed up, but she showed up sending nobody. She said, I chose to fight. I chose to fight. Because this woman has worked hard for her job. Every time I see a black woman in any position, I know that we've worked hard to get there. Because I know that the doors have been slammed. I know that the discrimination has been high and violent. I know the white fragility has been exhausting. So what more now that you have worked hard, maybe you've gone through different levels of education and you're working somewhere, and all you want to do is be at peace. All you want to do is save for your mortgage. All you want to do is save for your car. All you want to do is pay your bills. And they come with their white violence just to show you that who's the boss and who's in charge. Well, they may be in charge, quote unquote, but we are the bosses. We are the bosses and the leaders of our own destiny. And until you understand that no one is going to fight for you loudly or louder or more passionately than yourself, unless you wake up and fight for yourself, unless you do it, no one else is going to do it. Fear is so crippling because fear will have you thinking that you ain't shit. Fear will have you thinking that you can't. Fear will have you telling you that you ain't anything. Because white people depend on your fear to bind you and stop you. And when you break through that fear, you become fearless. This young lady never would have imagined that a CEO that doesn't say please and thank you in an email is now saying please and thank you. A CEO that didn't even acknowledge her complaint wasn't acknowledged by anybody, suddenly is cornering her to ask her this, that, and the other. Coming for chit chat, fisherman. Who's in charge now? Who is in charge now? Is it not her? She's in charge of the direction that this could go. They're scrambling now. Those are the words she used. Well, of course they're scrambling, because you've basically unearthed their bullshit. You've basically lifted the lid and say, we're going to speak on what needs to be spoken on. And if you think you're going to bully me out of my job, you think you're going to advertise my job a few hours before a performance review, and then you're going to schedule another performance review where you will cause me to resign or you will sack me. No. That's not going to happen. This black queen, she showed up as herself, and she showed up fighting for her job. And that is how it has to be. That is it. And I couldn't be more proud. So thank you so much for writing in and giving us an update. We look forward to the conclusion, which we pray is in your favour. Winner, 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 winner. We black women are winners. Come on. Winner, 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 winner. We black women are winners. Winners. Yes, big W. Winners. Is it every day? Is it every day that we have to shed tears? Is it every day we must carry a headache? Is it every day we must be lamenting? And why? Because they don't want to see us because of the colour of our skin. Because we are women and we are black women on top of it. They don't want to see us. Well, whether they want to see us or not, God has stationed us where we need to be, sending nobody. So, as we navigate the world of work, Toya Talks platform is here. I'm here for you. Because I refuse to continue on the trajectory that all of us have been doing from before. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new life. I don't even know if that is the words, but that is the words I'm using here. Gary is a bastard. That guy is a bastard. If you would like to know who Gary is, can you please acquaint yourself with some of the previous episodes of the Toya Talks podcast? For example, Casualties of War, Diplomacy Olympics. Have a listen about Gary. Anyway, off the back of Casualties of War, which was the last episode where I'd spoken about Gary. Now, understanding that Gary is a white man who thinks he's better than everybody. He's got an LLB in law and therefore thinks he's the owner of the vineyard. The level of violence that he has shown in the team towards me, towards my boss, the way that he has literally attempted many coups in the office, or I say in the office, but you know what I mean, at work, because y'all know that I'm not touching that office. That office will never see me. Has been a bit crazy. And well, the last bit I could tell you on Gary is obviously, you know, he's been stripped of everything, not his pants, because God forbid that, we don't want any scary. So the contracts that he's been managing, he's been stripped of them. It's been given to Cindy. And he's just walking around like a dog without an owner at the moment. And what he's doing is he's trying to interject himself in certain projects, but everybody's just kicking him to the curb and saying, no, you can't shit here. Go over there. I think for me, you know, what is like really interesting about Gary is even with smearing of shame all over him, do you know he still have some form of arrogance? He does. He'll be in the team meetings and no one's asking him nothing, but he'll come out with stuff. And we all know they ain't got no contracts. And actually, I think that my boss is trying to manage him out the team, not of the organisation, because now he has got a perm contract. Where do I even start? So he applies for a perm role. He's got this perm role. And it's kind of a lower grade than what he was as a contractor. And he thinks that he's got this type of security. He thinks that the organisation are getting rid of all the contractors. But the organisation made an announcement last week that they're speaking to line managers, and they're going to be having conversation about consultant extensions. If you saw the look on Gary's face, it was like he was chewing wasps. Not wasps. Like he had a beehive in his mouth. The red of a tomato was even not as red as his face. It was vexed. Imagine causing violence up and down. Literally dividing and ruling a team, attempting to, discrediting our manager to anybody who will listen. Then he did fee fi fo fum to go and apply for a perm role, because he felt like if he's more secure, not like a perm role is secure, by the way, but I could tell that for him, his attempt of gaining that security is what he thought power would come with that security. Can you see with these Oyibo people, like the need for power is mad. It's like it's ingrained in their DNA because of colonial structures that they created, because of history. So in their head, like power and like being able to control everything is part and parcel of their existence. So they don't know how to operate unless they're controlling us as black people. Well, not only did Gary get the perm role, and it's a lower grade in comparison to kind of consultants, even though we're not on a grade, but if that makes sense, like if you want to talk about seniority, the consultants are more senior. I'm senior. I'm a senior commercial contract manager. I consult on contracts. Like, nothing on my contracts moves without the people talking to me. Do you understand? You've got people in different parts of the businesses talking to the seniors. And I'm not the only senior. And he's on less money. The need for power is so rife in him. His need to overthrow my boss is so rife that he would rather take a perm job and earn less money, rubbing his hands at the thought that all of us consultants are going to be given the boot. And that ain't really going to happen. So Gary's twiddling his thumbs, and he's it's a far cry from the person I described to you a few weeks ago. This man that I had a meeting with my boss about something, and he decided to send me a barrage of instant messages on Teams asking me how dare I speak to my boss before I even let him know what I'm talking to my boss about. Yeah, you heard. Go and listen to the episode. Flipping mad. Now it looks like somebody used ice bucket challenge on him. Well, yeah, he's just subdued. He doesn't know whether he's coming or going. He's the type of one you got to keep an eye on because he's mad. He's mad. Are we going to talk about Clive? You guys remember Clive? I think I spoke about him in Oppression Olympics. You guys remember him, Clive, who tried to humiliate me on a Teams call of 20 people. These are people that I work with. I don't know them too well, but they know of me, right? They know what I do. They know who I am. They know who I report into. And Clive, if you recall, tried to compare me to Gary. And he did this in not only a derogatory way, in attempting to do it anyway, but it's the fact that he thought that he could humiliate me on this call. And before I could even defend myself, two members of the staff who worked in different parts of the team, not in my team, but different parts of the organisation, rose to my defence. You know, listen, when you trouble God's children, and I report you to my ancestors, when you trouble me and I report you, put yourself in a serious prayer. Before I could even defend myself, two senior people, they finished him. Have you ever heard posh people argue? If not, go and watch Made in Chelsea, using their Prince Charles voice. I don't think you should be talking like that. How dare you talk like that? That is just not appropriate. I was like, do him, speak his language and do him there. And I had already had Clive's card marked, because he had already done other things that were very questionable to undermine and humiliate me, but never on a stage of 20. So I'd already started building this band and I'd already made up my mind after that call that I was going to make a formal complaint, because I then put a separate call into him to discuss what he attempted to do, and he tried to defend himself and he was talking all types of rubbish. And for me to call him, it was part of me building my burn folder. And then I did a summary of our conversation via email. I think I spoke about this. I did. When I drafted my grievance complaint, because my grievance complaint, I had many examples, but the basis is victimization, bullying, and discrimination on the basis of my gender. Yeah, you heard me. Because he wasn't doing it to the men, but he was doing it to other women too. And if I even bring race into it, I would have done it so he could tell me. I would have asked him if it's race related. I would have asked him if we had gone to a meeting where HR had held it. I would have asked him, is it because of my race? Because the difference between us two is our race and gender. So I'm just trying to whittle down what your issue is. Yeah, that's how I would have positioned it. But for the purposes of the complaint that I had drafted, it was discrimination on the basis of my gender. When I had drafted that complaint, I don't know, something just said to me, Toya, just wait. Don't do it yet. And I listened I listened to my spirit, I listened to my energy. Within a week, people were having problems with Clive. How do I know? Because it will come into my hearing, or maybe there's a meeting I'm on and somebody will say something that alludes to the fact that they don't like the way Clive handles things and things like that. Anyway, long story short, I was in a meeting. I was leading a meeting. At the end of the meeting, one of those people that had defended me when Clive sought to humiliate me said, Toya, would you mind staying on the end of the call, please? You know when they do that. Do you mind, Toya, have you got 5 minutes? Do you mind staying on the call? I said, yeah, no problem. Toy, how's everything going? I'm like, yeah, I'm good, everything seems to be fine. They're like, oh, thanks for all you've been doing to help us with XYZ. I said, no problem. He said, I just wanted to sprinkle something in your ear. Come and hear English, you sprinkle something in my ear. I said, well, in my head, I said, God, please make sure you are looking at a sprinkler. What's he sprinkling? Well, Clive's job has been advertised. I said, what? He said, yeah, they're letting him go. I said, what? He said, yeah. He can't come here like a bull in a china shop. Who does he think he is? I said, well, wow. I said, well, thank you for letting me know. It is a sigh of relief because his harassment of me was becoming personal. He said, harassment? It's true. That's a word that's been used before. He said, no problem, Toya. I said, no problem. Take care. Yeah, I went, oh, you boy, ready to snitch on each other. This is how they speak so calm, like they're not mad. Yeah. So Clive's last day was Friday. He left in a cloud of shame. Head of a department, he left in a cloud of shame. No, but there was no remote leaving drink. There was no remote leaving video. There was no remote leaving shit. No one did shit. Not a collection. They do virtual collections now using PayPal. There was no card. He's lucky. I had a grievance ready waiting for him. It was just there on ice. He was just... God said vengeance is his. God took vengeance immediately. With immediate effect. So Friday was his last day and I needed him to... there was something I sent and I needed approval from somebody in his department. So I did one line. I said, oh, I'm told that today's your last day. I'm wishing you all the best of luck in your next adventure. Kindest regards. That's what I wrote. Because you know something? When people are defending you, when God has taken his own vengeance, what is the point in being shady and being rude and disrespectful? I don't need to do all that. I showed professionalism from the beginning. From the beginning. When God decided to take care of him, the way that God did it is the same shame that he tried to put onto me on that call of 20 people. God put that cloud of shame back to sender. This was in a space of what? A couple of weeks. So his job was advertised before he could tell people that he was leaving, and he's tried to make out that an international company has headhunted him. No one's headhunted you because no one can see your small peanut head. No one can see your peanut head. Hunter of the heads. Just sit down there. So Clive is vanquished. Yeah, he's been vanquished. And I'm hearing that there's people in the organisation who are women who he had done something similar to what he did to me. But apparently he was like aggressive on a call to somebody, called somebody thick and stupid or whatever he said. Yeah, so can you imagine the complaints that were happening in the background? The ones that I didn't even know of. Because one thing is, people like that are just bullies. They just use their position to just throw themselves around. And they'll throw themselves at the wrong person. Because in my department, we don't have time for this. We are a big department. We don't have time. You've got contracts. And I think it's difficult, right? Because with consultants, it's difficult because we know that we're there on an interim basis. So a lot of us have to keep our head down in case we don't get our contract extended, yada, yada, yada. But a majority of us here, we're mainly contractors. Do you understand? And it's about playing the game as well. And I definitely believe that I've never navigated my current organisation really, really well. Like, really well. I'm very unproblematic. I get on with it. I deliver. I'm a safe pair of hands. I'm a subject matter expert. And I am best in class at what I do. So if I was to go to my boss, and I did have a conversation with my boss, and I told her not to do anything. I said, leave it. I'm just letting you know. So that she knows that there's an impending something coming to her mailbox. Because the way I looked at it is, I'm not going to allow this man to make my job difficult just because he has a problem with the fact that I'm a woman. A lot of these people, what their issue is that they have to be accountable to me for certain things. And they hate the idea of, number one, me being a woman, but me being a black woman fully compounds their inability to accept the fact that you don't have to report to me, but you will have to explain things to me. I am senior here, and the division of things that I look after requires him to have interaction with me. So it's not like I could avoid him. But what he tried to do those several weeks ago, which are now months really, I'm never going to forget that, because I was ready to lambast his head. I was ready for him. And before I could open my lips, 2 angels that God sent, God said, I'm going to use 2 angels. And they're not going to look like the classic angels. I'm going to send them. I always tell you guys, when you do things with clean heart and a clean mind, karma is a bitch. And karma is very real. Whatever you put into the world is what you're going to get back out. And no one is perfect. No, not all fingers are equal. But the way you treat people is reminiscent to who you are as a person. And I definitely think in organizations, in businesses, they treat people so badly because they can. And it's a power thing. They think, right, well, I've got power, so I'm going to wield it to make your life miserable. And actually, I choose not to exist in misery, because life is difficult enough. I have gone through enough. I've been through enough. I don't need to suffer, right? My existence as a black woman isn't intrinsic to suffering. And I tell you that all the time, because when we think of ourselves and how black women are portrayed, there is always an element of suffering coexisting with our existence, and we need to break those things. We're breaking generational curses, and we also need to break the fear factor in our existence and the suffering factor as we navigate white spaces. And I'm not going to sit here and say, you'll go to a place and it will be perfect. But understanding how to navigate is going to require you to do your due diligence, as I always say. And it's going to require you to understand how you navigate multi-layered structures. So you may have a flat structure in your own teams, but all other organizations may not. You may have a hierarchical structure, and then understanding how to navigate that is equally as important. Who are the influential people? Who are the ones that are ruthless? Who are the lickasses? Who are the people who will step on anyone to get to anything they want? Understanding who those people are, and therefore how to navigate those structures, are really, really important. But competency is your highest form of currency, and we've got an episode about that. And getting competent is single-handedly going to be your most resourceful tool in navigating white spaces. Anyone who's ever worked with me will always tell you that I am a very I don't like to see people suffering. I don't like to see people struggling. And as I've worked my way up the ranks, I'm not going to lie, it's been difficult. And I'm very conscious of the fact that my learning disability and having dyslexia means that I learn in a completely different way. And I'm very protective over my learning disability. I've spoken about this in a previous podcast. I don't tell people when I go wherever I work that I have a learning difficulty. And I'm not saying there's a problem with doing that. I'm just saying that I'm not going to allow you to further stereotype me because of my learning disability. And I've learned how to work with my learning disability, and being dyslexic is probably one of my greatest superpowers, because I figured out how I learn, I figure out how I work, I understand who I am, and I have a clear understanding of my identity and of myself, and how I operate in white structures, how I learn in white structures. And working from home has been probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I say that because I think that I'm able to kind of be in my own space. There's less distractions, but more importantly, I'm able to kind of deliver at my optimal level because I am in my own comfort zone. I'm in my space of being able to deliver. So one of the things that I struggle with is delegating. I don't like delegating because it requires me to trust somebody's competency, and I don't always have competent people around me. And I say that we are a really high performing team. And when I say I don't have a lot of competent people around me, I think that my boss has struggled to hire people who can deliver, and she has admitted that. And we can see that because some people don't even last a week. It's like a bit of a rotating door for junior members of staff. As senior members of staff, my boss seems to have recruited really well. and we all get on really well, and I have an elite team. Like, our team is a team that you want to work in, and people say it all the time, like, we are best in class. And when I think about the teams that I've worked in, from Goldman Sachs to PricewaterhouseCoopers, I can put my hand on my heart and say this is the best team I've ever worked with, just because of the experience and the knowledge that we bring to the table. And I'm really, 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 really proud of this team and the team that I work for. And I never thought that I would say that, but I really, really do feel that way. So my boss is really concerned about me working late hours. So she said to me that I do my own admin, and some people have admin assistants and stuff. But again, because it's been difficult for my boss to recruit, I haven't had the benefit of having an admin assistant that can help me out. So my boss decided that she's going to get like a business support manager that can kind of help me out, do like invoicing, help me do like minutes and meetings, because I do everything. I'm like all incapacitated. So my thing is, just because I'm a senior doesn't mean I'm not going to do certain things. And I make it my business to know how to do the admin side that ordinarily I would delegate, because I don't want to be at the mercy of a junior member of staff if they decide to leave, don't turn up, you know, or they're just shit and my boss gets rid of them. So my boss hired a young lady called Charlotte. Now, I couldn't really work Charlotte out, because I didn't know if she was genuinely, you know, excited to have this job, or it was just the idea of having a job, which, to be honest, either or, I'm not bothered. But it was more about how she approached like me. So my boss said to her, you're going to be reporting into Toya. You need to do all her invoicing. I don't want her doing any admin, anything admin related. I don't want Toya doing, so that she can log off early and, you know, have a bit more of a work-life balance. So I spent a lot of time with Charlotte training her. Time that I don't have, meaning that I would train her and then I would end up working late to make up for the time I spent training her. I got her training, in-house training from different parts of the organisation who I would interface with, so that I could hand off stuff to her. So this was going on for a period of about 2-3 weeks, and I was still holding on to stuff, and my boss says, you've got to let some stuff go so you can have a work-life balance. So ongoing training, and this young lady disappeared for like a week or two. Didn't hear from her. Apparently she was telling my boss that she was doing stuff for me. I don't know what this stuff was, because I didn't give her anything. Anyway, so she decided to do a process map of certain things that I like, admin stuff. And I thought, listen, if that's the way she learns, fine. So I went into the document because she asked me to approve the process map. I amended a couple of things and then approved it. So then 2 weeks ago, I gave her something to do. I gave her a couple of things to do, but there was something that was really, really important to do. On Thursday, she seemingly done it, and I went into it, and I'd given her all the templates. All she had to do is plug in the detail. And she got it wrong. This was like 3.5-4 weeks of training. And she actually sent it out that way. And then 10 minutes afterwards, she emailed the same department to say, what I just sent you 10 minutes ago, there was a mistake. This is the right one. And then there was no context. There was no amendment email. There was nothing. So I called Charlotte. I said, Charlotte, how are you? She said, yeah, she's fine. I said, Charlotte, I've given you a lot of training. I spent a lot of my time training you. And you have sent this pack. And the template that you've used and everything that you have put in this pack is wrong. I didn't teach you to do that. And your process map doesn't tell you to do that. A process map that you have developed. What has made you do this? Why have you done this? And she goes, well, you know, at the end of the day, I like making mistakes so I can learn from them. I said, sorry, excuse me. Hello. Hi. I said, first of all, you're going to reduce the tone of your voice. And secondly, you can't like making mistakes, because it's not me that you're going to do the mistakes on so that I can clean it up after you. Because actually, you're here to make my life easy, or easier. And actually, you're making my life more difficult, because now I have to fix what you've done. And it's going to take about 2-3 days to fix what you've done. And I just need you to take some accountability here. because I've spent a lot of time training you. I've got you external training. I have given you templates. So I've given you everything that you need. So if there is something that is missing, I need you to explain to me what happened here so that I can plug in the gaps and give you some more training, or try and get some more training for you, because I can't give you any more of my time. I've given you a lot of time. And she goes, well, at the end of the day, all the other senior members of the commercial contracts, they do things. I said, I don't care how they do it. Do a process map for them then. I said, when I ask you to do something, I just expect you to do it how I've told you. I don't need you to provide me with a remix, because I've been doing this for a long time. So it's been difficult for me to delegate. But now that you are the example, you are the case study as to why I don't. Because I can't now spend 3 days fixing this, and this is going to be 3 nights of my time. And your attention to detail is poor. She goes, well, I beg to differ. I said, really? I said, okay, I'm going to share my screen with you. I said, wasn't it you that sent this? And she said, yes. I said, and 10 minutes after, oh, I see what you mean. I said, yeah. I said, I have a problem with you making a mistake and not telling me you've made the mistake. I said, in the pursuit of covering your mistake, you made another one. And there's no accountability. And she was really defensive. She wouldn't let me finish my sentences, but I just kept talking. Like, I didn't stop for her to talk as she was interrupting me, because as far as I'm concerned, she reports into me. Listen, I have managed people before. I've managed teams. Do you understand? I know when somebody is just not ready to learn. I know when somebody is not taking what I do seriously, and I know when somebody is disrespectful, and she's all those things. But I didn't care, because at the end of the day, my boss made it clear to her that she is to work with me, and she reports into me to make my life easier. And at no point since she's been in the team have I felt that. But she's been going to my boss, telling my boss that she's doing this for me, she's doing that. So I said to her, I want you to have a think about external training I can give you to plug in those gaps. And I need you to know where you went wrong here. So I need you to do this again and send it to me for review. And she goes, yeah, but I've got other things I need to do. I said, for who? Because I've not given you anything. She goes, oh, well, one of the other senior commercial contract managers, they gave me something to do. So, and they're giving me training. I said, okay, that's really great. But you report to me. So my work becomes a priority. I says, if you have issues with prioritization, I can speak to my colleagues and ask them to stop giving you work until you've mastered this. Because until you master this, how are you going to do theirs, which is exactly the same thing as mine, but just in another context? I'm so sorry, Toya, I made a mistake. Completely my fault. It was just absent-mindedness. If she had said something to that effect, or just taken some accountability, I would have been a bit more open to rectifying where she went wrong by getting her external training if that's what she needed, to help bridge the gap so that the mistake won't happen to the extent in which she did it. But I know that her issue is that she's reporting into me, a black woman. How dare I tell her what to do, how to do, and when to do it? I know that because when she works with other members of the team who are the same race as her, and I've spoken to them, they say to me that her attention to detail is very poor, but they don't really have issues. She makes a lot of mistakes, but they just end up doing the work themselves. So it looks like she's doing it for them, but she's not. And I'm the only one that has said anything to her. So as far as I was concerned, I was waiting for her to go and report me to my manager. I don't really care, because I don't think that I've done anything wrong, and I'm well within my rights. If you're reporting into me, if you've made a mistake, I will pull you up on your mistake. But it would always be to find a solution. I sent her a Teams message and I said, listen, everybody makes mistakes, but all I need is accountability and finding a way to rectify this, because you will have to spend next week trying to sort this out, because I'm unwilling to provide three nights to sort it out. So maybe, since you said that you like making mistakes so you can learn from them, this will be a learning lesson, and one that will help you for next time. She's like, oh yes, thank you so much. Mistakes are great. That's what she sent me. So luckily for me, I've been training somebody else in the background who my boss has given me as an additional resource. And what this young lady doesn't realise is this person is a lot more competent and has been doing the work and sending it to me to proof, and then doing the work, because I manage several contracts, right? So all my admin is going to be done by someone else. But this young lady, I did my due diligence, so I knew that this would happen. I just didn't expect her to be as confrontational. At the end of the day, I've got every right to be annoyed and upset, but it's about the way you convey that. But when someone says, I love making mistakes so I can learn from them. So do you intentionally make these mistakes just to make my life difficult because that's how you learn? That is not a proactive way of learning. And it's, you know, when people say use your inside voice? We had a team meeting, and my boss was doing around the rooms, and then my boss asked her what's her capacity like, and she says, I'm doing quite a few things for Toya. She didn't realise I was on the call, because that particular call is at 8:30 in the morning, and I usually don't really join them calls. She didn't think I was on the call. So my boss was like, Toya, are you on the call? I was like, yeah, Deborah, I'm on the call. She says, is that right that Charlotte's got a lot of work to do? I says, no. Charlotte, could you explain to me what work that you've got to do? Because I don't know. She went quiet. I think what I find upsetting is when I was her age, I would have loved for somebody to invest time in teaching me stuff. And in learning it and being graceful in understanding that somebody is actually wanting you to win. Somebody's actually investing time for you to do the best that you could do. And your issue is that I'm telling you what to do. And you report into me. I approve your timesheets. Like, what is that? Like, I need to understand what that is. So now it's a junior member of staff challenging me because I'm black. I'm a black woman. I see how she interacts with people who are the same race as her, and I definitely know that's her issue. So all that's going to happen is I just remove work away from her, and either she works with somebody else, but she's not working with me, because I've worked too hard to get to where I am, to train somebody else and to, watch somebody grow and blossom is something that I love to do. I love to encourage people to pursue their dreams. If you want to be a senior commercial contract manager and you're a junior, I will do what I need to do to help you if I know that you are investing in yourself and you really want to do the job. But there are some people that are using privilege like a surfboard, and they're just coasting through life, and you tell them to do actual work and they get offended. It's that passive aggressive bullshit. I like to make mistakes. You see, one thing with Oyubos, they turn the tears on like a tap. So you've got to be careful. You have to know also when to just withdraw. And I've withdrawn with this girl before she now says that I'm bullying her, I shouted on her, all of this. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, because I know that that's the road that she potentially will go down with me if I pull her up again on something that she's done wrong, even though that she's done it wrong, even though she likes making mistakes. So I'll just be pointing out things that she likes to do, isn't it? And I'm not here for that. I like peaceful life, and I definitely know that the devil is trying me, and he's not going to use Charlotte to do that. So back to sender, innit? Honestly, the privilege of even being able to open your dirty mouth to tell me that you like making mistakes. Could you ever, as a black woman, could you ever tell anybody you like making mistakes, even at an entry level or junior member of staff? Do you think that you could have the confidence to say that? Listen, you say that, tell them that you like making mistakes. You'll make one mistake, and they'll tell you, oh, we're give it 7 notice. Yeah, they ain't got time. But for some reason, I say for some reason, we know the reason, isn't it? White people are afforded the grace to have the confidence to just come out with that passive aggressive shit. And one will say, she's building character, she's just learning. But why is it that our learning is always faced with a sledgehammer? But for white people, when they're learning, it's different. That one is just learning. Our one is not seen as learning. Our one is being difficult, rude, disrespectful. I'm so over it. So I don't have time to babysit white fragility. You all know that, because I'm not doing that. Anyway, something happened last week and I need to share it with you. It's really, really important, because I've called this episode Under Construction, because I recognise that my boss is going through a construction period where she is it's almost like she's getting rid of people and she's doing it in a way that I think is probably the smartest way. She's doing it in a non-confrontational, passive-aggressive way, but equally she has to do it because she is also safeguarding her role, which has been under threat for several months. In fact, it's been under threat since last year because there are people who are actively plotting to get rid of my boss, and it's actually quite mad. So I recognise that we are going through kind of like a restructure, if you like. And I say that knowing full well that I'm a consultant, but I definitely feel like there is a new dawn coming. So that's why I've called this episode Under Construction. Last week, Thursday. Now, like I said, we have 8:30 calls. Sometimes we have 8 a.m. calls. Well, we used to have 8 a.m. calls. And sometimes in emergencies, especially end of last year, we were having them quite a lot. Now, if I work late the night before, I don't usually join the 8 o'clock or the 8:30 calls just because I need a work-life balance and I need sleep. And my boss knows what I'm like. Like, I can't... If I don't join a call in the morning, she knows I've worked late the night before. So we have that understanding. And it's fine, you know, it works. So on Friday, it's either Thursday or Friday, but I'm thinking it was Friday. No, it was Thursday. I didn't join an 8 or 8:30 call. And there's this one man, and we're going to call him Richard. Richard joined the team a few months ago, and you know, one of those, he's like a middle-aged white guy. And when he introduced himself to the team, he read his credentials like a shopping list. So you already know what he's on in it. Listen, you can tell people your experience without telling them that you have PhD, MGD, PDE, PPE. You don't need to tell everybody this. This one will start reading alphabets and you're just like, what is it that you're doing? Because all of us together in this one team have more than you, but whatever. And it has this air of arrogance about him. For example, he'd been on the team for one day, already sent me an email. Oh, I heard that you are the guru of so-and-so. Can you put this together for me? I need it by 5 o'clock. I wrote back to him. I said, unfortunately, you're not going to get this at 5. And I'm not a guru. I just know how to do my job. I wrote it there because he CC'd my boss, like to say what. And he then extended the deadline for the next day. So what I did was I waited until the last minute before I did it. He was panicking. Obviously, he's gone and promised people heaven and earth. I'm sure he's going to remove my name and say he's the author, whatever. Ever since then, I was like, this guy, nonsense. Oyibo, obviously, innit? Anyway, Thursday, I wasn't on the call. And one thing with me is I have people on the team, like if I'm not on the call, I have people on the team that will feed back to me if anything comes up to do with me, my contracts or anything. They will feed it back. But to be fair, because I just mind my business, it's usually nothing. The way my phone was ringing at 9 o'clock, yeah, the way things were, beep, 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 even my teams, beep, 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 I said, what's all this? One of my colleagues, Caroline, she said, Toya, was you on the 8:30? I know you wasn't there. I said, no, I wasn't. Hell, this Richard, when they were going through things, the team were going through things, then my boss said, has anybody got anything else? Richard said, oh, I have something to raise about contract 2459. I just want to let you know that this has this, and I've spoken to this, and I've done this, I've done this. Apparently, my boss went quiet and she goes, how dare you? How dare you progress this when the senior commercial contract lead has not been on copy of any of these emails since the 8th of June? You deliberately cut her out. Toya's name has not been in any emails. And I know this because you've copied me and you've deliberately removed her. Contract 24 something. Everybody knows that sits with Toya. And you should know this because there's a contract register and it tells you who is assigned to what contract. Toya has been here for almost 1 year. And she's been diligently dealing with these contracts. And you've taken it upon yourself to be a lead. She says, you're not even senior enough. This belongs to Toya, and I suggest that you re-engage with the senior commercial contract lead for this contract. And please, in future, do not cut out my senior members of staff. He said, yeah, but I'm using this forum to tell you. She said, I don't care what you're telling me. I'm telling you that you do not treat my staff like that. And I suggest all those emails that you deliberately cut Toya out of, go and put her in those emails. It's not just Caroline that told me. Another lady, she messaged me to tell me. So when I now was looking at my emails, this Richard sent me, oh, Toya, I just wanted to send you this so that you're aware. So obviously I wasn't on the call. So then I thought, let me have a dig. I said, dear Richard, thank you for forwarding this on to me. I've read the email trail. In future, can you make sure that I'm on copy of all these emails? As this directly affects my contract. As you are aware, I am the contract owner. Do you know what this man did? He then replied to me, took everybody out, and he goes, no. Sorry, I'm jumping. So when I sent that email to him, then I sent an update to everybody because there's stuff that I've been doing in relation to this contract that my boss is aware of. It's actually quite high profile. Do you know that I copied Richard into that email so that he'll be feeling a bit of shame? Do you know that he replied just to me? He said, excellent email. Just to let you know, I didn't cut you out of emails, but from now on, I'll make sure you're in them. I thought he said you didn't cut me out. I didn't even respond to him. I didn't even acknowledge him. And let me tell you why. My boss gave you a washing down because you attempted to do a coup. That's what you were doing, mini coup. You call those mini coups. Because wherever they see us, they're trying to always overthrow. They're trying it. I didn't know that I was cut out of these emails since the 8th of June. This is my boss that doesn't read her emails. So that means she was well aware of what they were doing. And one of my colleagues, Caroline, you know what she said to me? She said, Toya, do you know why Deborah was pissed? As in my opinion, do you know why Deborah was pissed? She knows that all your contracts are very high profile. And she knows that whilst she's not to the detail, if you have the detail, she's safe. You will always have her back. You have no designs on her job. You're not interested. You're interested in delivering. And on top of that, you have her back. And she knows it because it's been put to the test. She knows. So whilst they're doing these things, maybe putting her on copy, but keeping you out, how are you going to have her back if you don't have visibility of what they're doing? That's probably how she's processing it. And I thought, you know what? I never looked at it like that. But you're right. I said, thank you for the heads up. Yes. This is how I found out what happened at 8:30. Violence was happening. So can you see, when you are a safe pair of hands, you're a subject matter expert, when you deliver, when you are best in class as a black woman who we have done blood, sweat and tears to get to where we are. The wish and the goal is that people will fight for you in rooms where you are not in. Was I in that room? Was somebody fighting for me? Yes and yes. Richard wanted to make a name for himself. Do you know how detrimental it is that I'm intrinsic to this contract, but you take me out, knowing full well who I am, what I do, and how I do it. You are aware. But you wanted to use my contract to get your own stripes. It's not going to be done. You cannot step... Listen, my ancestors are awake 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anyhow you cut it, if you use bad mind, the bad mind will come back to you. Imagine a humiliation in front of all your team members because you've deliberately decided to conduct a mini coup and then you got called out. Apparently, he had his camera on. They said to me that he was stuttering like a nervous wreck because he's tried to come there and just be bullish. You haven't even been in the team 1 month. 1 month. Do you know the type of courage it takes to go into an organization you don't know anybody, but you're trying to use people to be your stepping stone, and then you're stepping on them? You're crazy and mad. Richard. His name is Richard Besworth. I call him bitch man. Yeah, he's a bitch man. Yeah, he's a bitch. He's stupid. If you see how he will talk, he will be using one English, you will just be looking at him thinking, oh wow, maybe he doesn't know jack shit. But what he does is if he sees something is high profile, he'll find a way to interject himself. You know those people, career surfers, that's them. They will use you to catch a wave. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. Nah. And this is why I say to you, you need to do your due diligence. You have to be, listen, nothing they told me about Richard surprised me. What surprised me is that he allowed himself to be humiliated on a public stage. My dear, look at all the things that are happening in my office. Every day, Nurofen. It's a dick. To be honest, I'm just like, what is all this? Luckily for me, I'm working from home. I'm minding my business and I'm learning the lessons. And I think from Richard, what I learned was the importance of doing your due diligence and understanding where you fit in an organization, in a team. If you know you're not a team player, at least give the illusion that you are. Because when people start to realize you're not a team player, what happens to that person? What happens? Your downfall happens. You need to at least give the illusion of being a team member. And believe me, if you're going to step on someone, people are going to watch you step on other people and they know that soon you're going to step on them. At the end of the day, you know who I'm loyal to? Myself first. I have no interest in my boss's job. I'm not interested. I'm a contractor. I'm happy where I am. I'm happy making my money. I'm happy delivering my contract. I'm happy remote working. I'm happy in my little life. Do you understand? But every day when I see violence in the office, it's Oyibo people in the front. And do you know what I think the problem is for them? And you know what their problem is? For the first time in a long time, especially where I work in the organization I'm working at, white people are the minority. So if you're at board level and director level, obviously white people dominate it. But if you're middle management like us, there's mostly ethnic minorities at middle management. So therefore, white people are the minority. And it's not a comfortable position for them. So this is the reason why they're stepping on you to get to that director level, head of level. The reason they're doing that is because that's where they feel comfortable. They want to be where their friends are, their people. They don't want to be like in middle management with us. So they're happy to step on us so that they use us as a stepping stone to get to where they want. And also as well, everybody knows how to do their job. The seniors, we know we are best in class. So he's looking at us thinking, who do you think you are with my PHE and HND and BBC and CDE and BDB? Yeah. This man, before he will tell you where he worked, by the time he told you all the alphabets of what he has, you've even lost interest. And you know, all the alphabets of what he has, it doesn't even relate to what we're doing here. But what he's doing is trying to let you know that he's better than. Better than who? Not better than me. No. So this is how Richard undressed himself, took his trousers off and showed his pants. And my boss finished him. So guys and girls and guys, this is what we are facing. This is where we are. So also as well, testament I think to the fact that this place has been like Game of Thrones. This contract's been like Game of Thrones. I've been extended, obviously. I told you guys, right, that was extended to October. This is the longest time I've spent on a contract. I never spend more than 6 to 9 months max before I move on to another contract, working somewhere else. But I will say that, you know, it's been tough. Remember when I told you guys at Christmas I resigned and then I changed my mind? Oh, God. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. But I've learned a lot and I understand that God has placed me here for a reason. And maybe it's just for me to, you know, get that content to come and deliver it here. I don't know. But whatever the reason that God has positioned me here, I'm just so grateful. And I'm learning a lot about myself, about Oyibos, about constructs, and about, obviously, kind of like how far people will go. How far people, you know, you think, you know, until you work somewhere and it's a whole nother ball game of how far people are willing to go. who they're willing to step and crush. To that end, on Saturday, my boss put some time in my diary for today. It's really weird because she doesn't particularly do that. I don't really have meetings with her unless I'm calling her for something. I need her to approve something. I need her guidance. I need her advice about a particular contract, or there's something really, really urgent that I need her to be aware of in case one of the other directors comes to her with it. So I then moved it to 5 p.m. on Monday, and she moved it to 1. And I thought, what have I done again? I said, maybe Charlotte has gone to complain or whatever. So I saw it's like 15 minutes. I was like, okay, no, it can't be that, because it will be longer than that if it was that. Anyway, so my boss called me. She's like, Toya, you're right. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I said, what have I done now? What is it? What have I done now? So she laughed. She goes, Toya, why are you asking me what have you done now? Have you done something? I said, yeah, I'm always doing something, innit? She was laughing. I said, because I don't call her Deborah, I call her boss. I said, so what's up, boss? And you know, we'll just be gingering her. When I call her boss, she was like, and she does this. When I call her boss, she goes, you know? Yeah. Listen, I respect her position. Whether you like the boss or not, I've told you people before, just respect the position, because somebody placed her there. She's there, you're not. I respect her position. So when I call her boss, and to be honest, she's worthy of the shoulders. Let me give it to her. Let me ginger her small. So I said, what's up, boss? She went, well, I wanted you to hear it from me before you hear it from anyone else, because you're going to get something through your emails, your personal email. I said, okay. What is it? She goes, actually, it probably won't even go through your personal. Maybe it'll go to your business email address. I said, all right. She said, yeah, so hopefully you agree. But I'm extending your contract until next year. I said, in my head, I was like, I said, wow, that's interesting. She goes, are you going to accept it, Toya? I said, I don't know. Yeah, go on then. She laughed. She said, Toya, I can't think of anybody else that I will extend over you. I need to extend you. She goes, you have had my back. Times maybe you think I don't know. I know. And you work really, really hard. You do. And you deliver. You are really, really, really good at your job. And I know this because everybody tells me. Even people in our team, they tell me that you help them, they'll come to you, you tell them how to do something, you know, all the escalations, you deal with every escalation, and you do it so gracefully. So I'm really happy that you're going to stay. I said, okay, boss, I got a call in 10 minutes. I'm going to have to go. She's like, are you rushing me off? I said, no, boss. I'm just, going to do that hard work that you were talking about just now. And she laughed and said, anyway, Toya, let's catch up soon. Bye. She put your phone down. Yes. Do you know what it was for me? It was confirmation of what I already know, that I'm navigating in the right way, number one. Number two, that upon all this treacherous water, upon it all, at the end of the day, I've stayed true to myself. And no matter how difficult sometimes it gets here, maybe the hours, and sometimes I'll just be watching Wahala unfolding, and I'm not involved in any of it, but I watch it unfolding. Sometimes it can be quite tiring watching things unfold. Do you understand? And obviously we all know that people have their own agendas, and sometimes people see you as an obstacle to their agenda, and they're willing to take you out for it. You guys will remember at the beginning of this contract, that waste man, is it David? That waste guy that went to go and complain to my boss that I raised my voice. Do you remember? That was in the summer, Abby. No, that was not summer, sorry. October, November. Do you remember? And God removed him. The way God removed him, in the same shame and disgrace that he tried to do me. God said back to sender. And look at where we are now. I hope that I give you comfort that if I can do it, you can do it as well. Because I don't have two heads. At the end of the day, I understand white constructs that have been built to benefit white people. Those constructs are not here to benefit Asian people. It's not here to benefit black people. So therefore, we have to understand And that includes ethnic minorities, understanding. And I don't really like the term ethnic minorities, but you know what I'm trying to say. Ethnic minorities need to understand how to navigate. But this platform is for black women because our navigation is very, very different. Because we have the nuance of being women and being black and always being picked last. And I say no. I say, actually, let us navigate so that we're picked first. My boss picked me first. There's 3 people she wants to extend as of today that she's decided that she wants to extend. Remembering, I've already got an extension till October. So we're talking another extension past October to next year. She picked me first. And that to me is confirmation that if we navigate in the right way, if we do our due diligence, keep our burn folders, our feedback folder, are a safe pair of hands, and we are the subject matter expert in what we do, we can attain success. We can be picked first. It is possible. I've come from nothing. You're talking to a black woman who has a learning disability where people will count me out if I'm to say, hey, by the way, I'm dyslexic. I've navigated my own learning disability by myself to get to where I am. If I can do it, you can do it too. And it's in this platform that I'm willing to teach you how to do it. If you're willing to receive what I'm saying to you, if you're willing to listen, if you're willing to commit to your own success, I can't commit to your success more than you. You have to want it more than me. Because I'm willing to take us all on this journey together. I'm willing to pour into you. If you're willing to invest and pour into yourself. I've developed masterclasses on the toyatalks.com website. I've shared my industry knowledge and secrets. Every single episode of the Toya Talks podcast I have poured into. And all I ask you to do is open your heart, open your mind and learn. I've made some catastrophic mistakes along this journey, mainly in my 20s. And as the episodes go on, I will tell you. Because in my 20s, I was a Raz girl. I was crazy. I didn't understand. I thought that I'd come out of education and it was, hello world, I'm here and I can't wait for everything to be equitable and everything to be balanced and justice. And the world just isn't like that. The fantasy and fairy tale I was watching on TV, in reality, I had a bit of a shock when I was told I ain't shit and that my law degree didn't mean nothing. And I had to make it mean something. There are people that have DM'd me saying, do you regret not being a lawyer? And I just want to correct a narrative as well. I am a part qualified lawyer. I did not complete my training contract. Yeah. I had 6 months or so, or a bit more left. And I knew that law wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. I did not believe in the system. There was no such thing as justice in this country. And I wasn't interested in pursuing a career that I was not passionate about. But I'm bloody passionate about contracts. I will flip you over a table inside out, back and forth with a contract. I will negotiate the heck out of a contract. And I'm bloody amazing at what I do. Because I've spent the time to invest in myself. And honestly, I'm passionate about commercial contracts because when I needed something that I was good at, it was contracts. And I've been able to forge a career for myself and I work for myself. I am employed by my limited business and I allow organizations to basically contract my services for their business through my business. So my employer is my business. I'm just letting you know that, okay? For the avoidance of doubt. But I haven't always been a contractor. I was a permie. I've been a fixed term contract as well. I have been in different situations and each situation presented its own challenge. But I will forever, ever stand up and say that if I can do it, you can bloody do it, 110%. But irrespective of the type of contract you have, the world of work and the politics doesn't actually change. But the more senior you are, obviously, it's a different type of politics. But equally, it doesn't, somebody on 50,000 and someone on 100,000 are suffering from the same politics, racial stereotypes, discrimination, bullying and harassment as anybody else. It isn't just restricted to somebody in a certain pay bracket. But as Black women, we accept that our experiences are just different. And therefore, we have to have a platform dedicated to us. And that's what I've created here on the Toya Talks podcast and platform. So, yeah, I am... I'm going to leave it there. Well, I say I'm going to leave it there. I have one dilemma that I have to read. Like, I feel like I have to. I have no choice. So let's get to it. Hi, Toya. Firstly, thank you so much for the Toya Talks podcast and platform. I love it, and I'm a long-time listener. Every Tuesday, me and my sister debrief on the podcast, and it has helped me massively. It's also hilarious. My work situation is pretty good, and honestly, I never thought I'd have a dilemma, but here we are. Hopefully you can relate to this, although I recognise it's a bit controversial and polarising. I would really love your advice. I'm a trader at a large financial services company in New York. I've been with the company for 6 years, and they moved me here from to London a few years ago. I got promoted recently, so now I could consider myself mid-level. I'm one of only a handful of Black people in my function out of over 200 people. And it's important to note that my company has been really focused on inclusion and diversity, especially in the investment division. I've been going into the office about 2 days a week, and recently the company announced that 1, we need to disclose our vaccination status within the next 2 weeks. I checked and I think this is legal. And 2, if you aren't fully vaccinated, you will not be permitted into the office in July and August, and who knows how much longer. This is so that they can remove the mask mandate. I have been coming into the office twice a week since January. It's easy to work from the office for me, and I learn way more being around co-workers and my boss. It's also good face time, which still matters in my industry for opportunities and promotions. However, these changes are worrying. I'm not vaccinated, and I don't plan on getting vaccinated for a couple of personal reasons. One being, I'm thinking about trying for a baby. And even though I know pregnant women can get the vaccine, I just think it's too delicate of a time to be messing with my body. Also, as a Black woman, my trust in the US healthcare system is already a 0, and I just don't feel comfortable about it yet. My company noted in the recent email that if you have religious or have personal medical issues, which mean you can't get the vaccine, you can email HR, but you definitely won't be allowed in the office during July and August, per the new rule. I don't want to email HR without consulting you. Who is me? She means Toya, as in me. I know you always ask what do you want to the people that send in dilemmas. I don't want my employer to have control over my personal medical decisions. I want to be able to come in the office in July and August, as I have been for the last 6 months. I don't want to be ostracized because of my personal medical decision. I honestly have anxiety at the thought of being forced to get vaccinated when it's not what I want to do yet. I recently went to a restaurant and was denied entry because I'm not vaccinated. So things are pretty intense here in New York. I know America is not your area of expertise, but any help on how to communicate this to HR would be amazing. Thanks, Toya. You're forever fan. Please keep me anonymous. I always do. Keep people anonymous. Well, this is what I'm going to say to you. You can't have it both ways. You can't. I think that you would fall into the category of having medical issues, but you can't even tell them that you're trying for a baby, because I know for a fact as a Black woman, or just as a woman, saying that, especially in your industry, that you're trying for a baby, they would see it as, they may frown upon it. And whilst an organisation is working towards inclusivity and diversity, the stigma of women pregnant and being in those type of position is still prevalent. You can't have it both ways. And I think with the US, the drive for the vaccine is massive, okay? Whereas in the UK, I think there's still a lot of autonomy. And I still think that organisations will try and move mad in the UK, but there's a limit to what they can do in terms of forcing people to declare whether they're vaccinated or not. Which, to be fair, isn't necessarily illegal, but it is if you're appearing to do like a two-tiered system, which I know this country will move towards, but hey ho, that's another episode. I think for you can't have it both ways. If you're not vaccinated, you can't come in July or August, whilst you see coming in as great FaceTime, great for promotions, and it's a great way for you to learn from other members of staff and co-workers, which I completely get. Equally, you don't want to get vaccinated because you don't necessarily know the effects of if you're trying for a child and things like that, and I completely understand it. So my thing is this: I think that you have to weigh up what is more important. And I know that sounds a bit harsh, but it's the truth, because I think that whilst we all have our own personal views about the vaccine, if an organisation is asking you a direct question, you have 3 options. You get vaccinated and therefore come in July and August. You have a religious reason as to the reason why you can't get vaccinated, but then obviously you can't come in July and August. Or you have a medical reason, which means you still can't come July or August. I think the sacrifice you're going to have to make is whether you fall into one of those categories of not getting vaccinated, and then you have to then deal with the repercussions of therefore not coming into the office and therefore, not benefiting from the FaceTime. And, I understand as a trader the importance of that FaceTime and what it means in your industry, but you can't have it both ways. I definitely think that there is a level of control that organisations are trying to wield. I definitely think that it is a breach of our human rights or ability to remain autonomous about our healthcare and the healthcare we receive. And I definitely think that this opens the floodgates of control with organisations, as if it's not bad enough how we are having to navigate these white discriminatory structures that seek to continue to oppress us. Now there is potentially a two-tiered system of the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. It's a tough one, sis, and I really do get it, but you can't have it both ways. You can't. And I have my own personal views about the vaccine, and maybe I will share that on a podcast that hopefully won't get banned or shadow banned. I don't know. Because it seems like whenever I talk about it on Instagram, I get shadow bans, but that's another episode for another day. I definitely think that you need to weigh up what's more important. You need to figure out what category you fall into. And I think it's going to be a sacrifice, right? Either choice is a sacrifice. And I can't tell you what to do. I can just lead you to choices which I think that you have, and I've told you what they are. I think without knowing kind of like New York law and stuff, I do know organisations and how to navigate them irrespective of the jurisdiction, the country, the place, whatever. And I think that it is a slippery slope to mandating vaccines, but equally they're giving you the choice, and there are going to be consequences for either choice that you make. But my question to you is, what is more important? Coming in July or August? Being vaccinated? Or your pursuit of trying for a child and wanting to do it in a safe way without contaminating your body with a vaccine that you don't know how you're going to react to? Those are your choices to make. And it is you ultimately that is wearing the shoe. And I think what is important for you to think about also is what you want, because I feel like it's not a diversity and inclusion issue, is it? And although that your organisation has made strides, I think this is more about control and human rights and your ability to make a choice, and they're forcing you to. I don't know if that's helpful. I'm not sure. Let me know if you find that helpful, and I hope that I'm helpful, but I can't make the decision for you. It's a decision that you have to make, in the same way no one's going to make the decision for me about whether I get vaccinated or not. And as it stands at the moment, I'm not going to have a trial drug administered onto me, because actually there's not enough data. It's still at trial stage, but that's another episode for another day. And I take my body very, very seriously. And I'm sure you do too. So hopefully that helps. Let me know how you get on. I'd love to hear from you about the decision that you have made, if you want to share that with me. and also whatever decision you've made, how your organisation has reacted. And I think it's important that we have these frank and honest and open conversations as the world is changing. And whether we want to accept it or not, here in the UK, the world is changing, and there is this, there is this kind of two-tiered system that we can see is probably going to happen on the horizon. It started with the COVID passports. It's starting with people who have had the 2 vaccinations can go to certain countries, and certain countries are opening their doors to people who are vaccinated, and those people who are not vaccinated, it's a slippery slope. And what we have to hope is that there's enough Oyubos that are going to go and protest at Trafalgar Square, so that and go and fight for us, so we don't have to do it. And let's be honest, the voices that can really change these are the Oyubos who own the structures. Yeah, they own. Listen, I know for a fact that in the UK there's massive protests against the vaccines, and it's mainly Oyobo people that are there doing it. They know the language to speak to each other, so we are just here waiting to see the decision that they're going to make. But equally, you have to be in control of your body, and I think it's important. They rid us of everything else, and the only thing we have is ourselves. So yeah, such a somber dilemma to end on. But listen, before I draw this episode to an end, I do want to say that it's really, really important to me. If you follow me on social media, especially on Instagram, on my personal Instagram page, which is Toya_Washington, any black business that I love or recommend, I always post on my social media, and you guys know this. And I have always advocated for amazing companies, and I definitely have made a shift in my spending pattern to intentionally spend black, and I love it because our community is so rich and we have so many amazing businesses within our community. So I've made a decision that once a month, at least once a month, I am going to shout out at least 2 businesses, black owned businesses, who I think deserve a shout out. It's not sponsored, it's just me sharing. In the same way that I share on my Instagram page, I want to use some of my other platforms to be able to shout out some businesses. So, and not just black businesses, I want to shout out like black creators who I'm loving at the moment, but black creators are a business as well. So yeah, businesses, I'm just going to shout them out who I love. And also as well, today, there's a black business that I usually shout out on Instagram because they're bloody amazing. And you guys buy their products, and I definitely believe that I'm trusted, right? And I know that some people would refer to me as an influencer. And I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would just say that I like good stuffs. But a young lady bought something that I had recommended on my Instagram, and she did a hashtag, and she atted me, and she hashtag Toya plugged me. And I love the hashtag. I love it. It's very me. So I've coined that hashtag, Toya plugged me. So if you are on my Instagram or any social media and I talk about a product or talk about a influencer or talk about anything that's black owned and black created, and you are therefore influenced to go and purchase, can you please at me and tag Toya plugged me? Because, sorry, but these businesses need to know. Do you understand that I put you on? And I think it's a good way to kind of put, kind of tell these businesses that I not only exist, but more so as well. Like, it's just a nice way to kind of help me in terms of the platform. So I would really, really appreciate it if you are influenced by anything that I do or say, or to buy a product from a black owned business, tag me, Toya plugged me. So the first business I want to plug, tag, talk about is a company called Ava Estelle, formerly known as SE Care. Now, I love all things skincare, you know this, but it's been really difficult because I do have adult acne, or did. I don't know if I still have it, it's really weird, but I still definitely have the hyperpigmentation from the acne. And I have hormonal spots. So when I'm coming on my period, I always get like these weird spots in weird places, and I have a couple at the moment. But Ava Estelle, formerly known as SE Care, have amazing, amazing products. The first product, and I'm actually going to reach for it now, is the Magic X cream, and it is really amazing. Honestly, it smells weird, but it's really, really good. And it's 100% vegan, 100% natural. It has shea butter, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, berry extract, jojoba oil, rosehip oil, naturally essential oil, and natural perfume. It's amazing. And it actually has an associated scrub called the Activating Body Scrub, and it is 100% vegan as well, and it has coffee beans in it. And if you know anything about me, I love coffee. Grapeseed oil, cocoa butter, coffee, lemon oil, rosemary oil, and natural perfume. It's amazing. Honestly, if you go on my Instagram page, Toya_Washington, I have done a reel, and I have done in Instagram stories about how to use the Ava Estelle products, and honestly I couldn't recommend them enough. Like, I really love their products, and it really helps with my hyperpigmentation. It really helps also with rebalancing my skin. They have a body cream as well that I really love. I'm on my second jar, and it's called the Summer Body Cream, and it has a natural sunscreen for UV protection. It's so good. They've got like a summer one, and they've got like a winter body cream as well. So go and check them out. It's Ava Estelle, AVAESTELL, formerly known as Essie Care. Amazing brand. Go and check them out, and hashtag Toya plugged me. So the next brand I want to tell you about, it's not necessarily she is a brand actually. It's a singer, and she is the princess of Afro fusion. Her name is Princess Wanda. I love her so much. She is a singer, performer, entertainer, and she's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful black queen, and her music is amazing. Honestly, I play her music in my car, and I am actually going to do like an Instagram post. My Instagram stories I am going to do. You guys need to follow me on social media. Keep up with my shenanigans. Instagram is Toya_Washington. She has a new song out called Fiesta, featuring a Willow. And if you know anything about African music, let me tell you, Willow is like top of the top. He's an OG, okay? And so go and check out Princess Wanda, because she's amazing. A really amazing entertainer, amazing singer, an all-round baby girl. Her Instagram page is official Princess Wanda. Hashtag Toya plugged me. Thank me later, because you know that my car playlist is literally lit. Actually, my car playlist is also on Spotify, and it is open, so you go and have a look. But yeah, I'm constantly having her songs on rotation because I absolutely love her. So go and check out Princess Wanda and let her know Toya plugged you. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. And what I will say is each and every Tuesday we do a new episode of the Toya Talks podcast. So if you're new to the Toya Talks family, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. You are more than welcome. And please acquaint yourself with some of the previous podcast episodes, which honestly you will not regret. Have a listen, have a laugh, have a giggle, but more importantly, take a notepad and pen, absorb information, learn, and take it into your workplaces as you navigate the world of work. If you want to follow all things Toya Talks, please follow the Toya Talks website, which is toyatalks.com. If you want to follow my personal Instagram page, I've said it before, I'll say it again. My handle is Toya_Washington. There is a Toya Talks podcast Instagram page, which is Toya_Talks. If you want to follow me on Clubhouse, my Clubhouse name is Toya Washington, and I have a Clubhouse room called Toya Talks, so make sure you go and follow there. We are actually going to have a room in a couple of weeks, probably about 2 weeks' time. I will be hosting a Clubhouse room on Clubhouse under my room, which is Toya Talk, so make sure you go and have a join, and I will definitely tell you guys in advance of the room what room I will be hosting, what I'll be talking about, the date, the time, and everything. But make sure you keep looking on my social media, because I will talk about it on there as well before I actually host the room on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is available for all people who have Android phones, as well as Apple phones as well, because it was just exclusive to Apple users, so it's been extended to Androids as well. So make sure you go and follow me on Clubhouse. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is Toya_W with the hashtag Toya Talks or Toya Talks podcast. If you want to follow me on Snapchat, my handle is Toya Washington, all one word. To be honest, I'm very active on my Instagram page, so on my personal Instagram page, so make sure you go and check out my shenanigans over there. Anyway, guys, I'm going to see you all next week. Yeah, I will, next week Tuesday, for another episode of Toya Talks podcast. And For all my returning listeners, you are more than appreciated. Thank you so much. Make sure you share the podcast. Make sure you send a link or send an episode to somebody that you haven't done so already. Let's get the word out there that Toya Talks exists, and I'm here to advise, teach and guide Black women how to navigate the world of work safely and in turn highlight the path of our success. If you're interested in any of the masterclasses, the CV masterclass, interview skills masterclass, negotiation masterclass, redundancy masterclass, and the mother and daughter masterclass, if you are interested in any of the masterclasses that I have listed, the feedback is absolutely amazing. You will not regret it. And of course, with the CV masterclass, we have templates for all those people that have purchased the CV masterclass. Head over to the toyatalks.com website. I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to thank each and every one of you for joining me, for listening, and as always, for supporting the Toya Talks platform. I will see you again next Tuesday. My name is Toya Washington, and you have been listening to the Toya Talks podcast.